We are back. Thank you for tuning in again. It's cold out here, but I got done with all my classes, and I thought I would press record. I have no notes, no structure here, and in future episodes of this podcast that still has no name, I will definitely have more of a structured format, especially when I have guests on, which I'm really excited for throughout this journey of being a podcast host. And in the first video, I mentioned that I don't know what I want to do with my career. Well, I thought I would clarify that I am planning on being a chiropractor. What I mean when I say that I'm not 100% sure what I want to do with my career is, I guess, at the end of the day, I want to help people. That's why I study everything. And if you didn't watch the first video, I study everything. And I hope I don't sound egotistical when I say that. I have gotten to the point where I've realized how much there is to learn. I just saw a quote today from Werner Heisenberg, which said, when one learns just enough to realize how much they don't know. I think or something like that. Like, you have to learn a specific amount of you have to get a grasp of the whole to such a degree where you can finally understand how much you don't know. And then in there lies the choice you have to make, or if you want to take part in this intellectual journey, or if you want to just say, I'm better off not knowing. But there's so much beauty in all of this. That's why I started this podcast. I had doubts, just like anybody probably has when they first express their authentic self. And I just reminded myself that this is bigger than me. Even if this helps one single person, then the job is done. So, yeah, my name is Shay, if I didn't make that clear as well, if you're just clicking on this video. And I study the interconnectedness of it all. Topic today, I wanted to get straight to this before I just start talking too much. Universal intelligence. From a chiropractic perspective, the power that made the body heals the body. And what is that power? That is innate intelligence, which is a subcomponent of the universal governing force, so the cosmos down to the quantum level. This is the most fascinating phenomenon, in my opinion. It's something that definitely ties into philosophy, and then it ties into every single other discipline you can possibly study, especially the physiology, the quantum mechanics, the chemistry, the physics, the psychology, the spirit. It encapsulates it all. So the universal intelligence is the force that orchestrates all of reality, whereas innate intelligence is the force that operates in the living organism. That's what allows for the organization and the adaptation of these incredibly complex structures. And through time, through evolution, innate intelligence adapted and formed this, what we would call a human being. And it's the greatest gift, consciousness, and being able to sit and acknowledge all of God's creation. And universal intelligence really is just another term for God. I was just reading a book today, Power versus Force, Dr. David R. Hawkins. Amazing guy. The late Dr. David R. Hawkins. He was talking about, obviously, power versus force, the title of the book, but to act from a place of force, it requires so much deliberacy, and it's a ton of wasted energy, and you're basically moving against the laws of universal intelligence. Whereas to act out of power is to act out of nobility and truthfulness, and to lead with pure intention. So that kind of reminded me of how I'm going about with this podcast. If I'm recording these, hoping to adhere to a specific audience, to look smart, or to be a famous podcaster, that's acting from a place of force. Whereas if I am just focused on being of service, I'm just speaking from the top of my head, but if one thing I say resonates with the listener and they say, that's a great perspective and that's certainly something that I will remember and that will help me in X situation, then I'm happy. And yeah, I touched on it briefly in the first episode, but to express my ideas, hopefully those ideas help other people, but then to host people on this podcast who have inspired me, and then for me to have the opportunity to ask hosts questions I have, and then I learn from those conversations, and then I can share that. That's an amazing format. What a great framework. Podcasts are incredible. Yeah, anyways, back to universal intelligence and innate intelligence. So as long as there's no interference, then the organism is free of pathology, free of dis-ease. And when I say interference, there are many different forms of what we would deem as interference, and it stretches very far. It goes so deep, some of these things. Physically speaking, it's going to be a subluxation, which is a chiropractic term to describe interference on a nerve, which through a biomechanical manipulation, a chiropractic adjustment, you can put the vertebrae back in place that was otherwise putting pressure on the nerve, and you reinstall the flow of innate intelligence in nerves, which is, the most important system in the body, the nervous system. But chemically speaking, we can have imbalances, neurophysiologically speaking, from imbalances in our perceptions over our present or our past. Oftentimes we create expectations of our future that if our reality does not meet, we feel depressed. So one way you can remove a psychological interference is to become conscious of your expectations over your reality, to ground yourself in the present moment and to know that life is only ever right now. In the book Power versus Force, which is an amazing book, he was talking about how it's only our perception that causes us to think that the universe is all chaos, but in reality there is only ever order, which is just very profound. Thank you, God. Nutritionally speaking, yeah, I would say the food you eat can definitely create an interference in regards to your neurochemistry. You're going to have imbalances in neurotransmitters. Low dopamine, you can't focus, and next thing you know, your psychiatrist or your psychologist is prescribing you some methamphetamines. So, yeah, fixing what you eat is key. Consciousness is actually what's called an attractor pattern, which is essentially a force field that is interacting with other force fields. And Dr. David R. Hawkins talks about how the universe is actually an infinite, constant interaction between different force fields, which we call attractor patterns. And it turns out that neural activity, so a neuron by itself firing is in and of itself random, but the entire neural network creates this cohesive attractor pattern that then, through the observer effect of quantum mechanics, creates the Newtonian physics. The A causes B causes C. And this is a phenomenal concept, and it's proven. And I was watching this lecture, or it was a sermon actually on Sunday, about the power of prayer and quantum entanglement, particles interacting at one point in time, then separating and being millions and millions of light years apart, can still communicate. And Albert Einstein said, well, that doesn't make sense because we know the fastest traveling thing in the universe is light. Well, the rebuttal to that is that these two particles that are communicating across the entire universe weren't actually separate in the first place. So then that leads back to universal intelligence, and something I really, really want to dive down further in the future. his name is David Bohm, talked about the implicate versus the explicate order. The implicate order is the underlying force that, like I said, orchestrates it all, universal intelligence, that then sort of projects onto this interconnected web of reality, creating the explicate order. So that's what we observe as cause and effect. But the only reason we can observe such phenomena, cause and effect, for example, is because of the implicate order. I think I have that correct. The implicate order creates the explicate order. So then that ties into a ton of different theories. The unified field theory, which is basically the theory of it all, of how this is all connected from Newtonian physics, cause and effect, down to the quantum level. And panpsychism, which describes the universe being a conscious entity, and consciousness in human beings allows us to experience our own creation, which is amazing. And I was thinking last week, so if God created the universe and the laws of physics and chemistry are what coordinate it all, then that means he created it in such a way that it's constantly evolving. So if he created consciousness then through time, that means consciousness in and of itself is evolving. And through religion, or just through walking with God, God gets a Christian connotation, but walking with God, we can evolve our own consciousness, and that through time we can come to the realization that we're not separate, which is another amazing idea. And that would be called the omega point theory, I believe. The point in time. I don't know if we'll be here, if you're listening to me. I don't know if we all will be here in the present experiencing it. But consciousness evolves to the point where we realize we're not separate, and it will be a pure state of bliss and peace and ultimate serenity. So, yeah, there's a lot to this, and it all just, the interconnectedness of it all, it's amazing. And I'm using this as also like a documentation, kind of, this podcast. I was just studying today as well the fascia and how it's a semiconductive sort of like matrix, communication matrix, and how that's really how the body works. Is it's biophotonic signaling, and that's how the body can communicate just faster than we can possibly comprehend. And it communicates through the water that the mitochondria makes. I don't want to get too scientific here, but the human body is something that I really want to dive down as well in future episodes. There's definitely a lot of people I want to have on this podcast that can articulate these concepts better than I can, but I will try my very best to explain this all for you guys in a coherent fashion. This podcast has no structure, though. I just felt like ripping it, just like I said, clicking record. And yeah, I could go on and on and on, but I guess I'll end with my own quote. Let's see if I can make a quote off the top of my head. I'll tie it back to the Werner Heisenberg quote, which is, as soon as one develops that level of understanding of just how much we don't know, which requires a certain level of understanding, then you can just approach it from like you're just walking with God. You're learning about His creation, but at the same time you're not too far left brain, and you can always sit back and just sit in the uncertainty and the complexity and the beauty, and just sit in gratitude and love. And yeah, it's an amazing thing to walk with God, and He's always here. Amidst the chaos, like I said, there's order. So yeah, my name is Shay Stickle. I hope you stayed to the end. I hope you watched the first video. If you didn't, yeah, my name is Shay. And I really appreciate you staying to the end. It is so cold, but I had to get this message across. It'll be cool to look back and see how my speech has changed. Something I really, really want to get better at is my ability to formulate all my ideas clearly. Thank you for watching, and have a great day.